Hey guys, so it seems like many of you enjoyed my last video on the 5 facts on psilocybin, and due to a fair few requests, I've decided to do a similar thing but on LSD, so here we are. Now there are quite a few facts on LSD that does overlap with psilocybin as well as pretty much all tryptamine drugs, but I've decided to go on a bit of a different route and try to avoid all the, common knowledge that all of you probably already know anyways. LSD is a very powerful drug that can do many amazing things like cure hardcore addictions, restore brain function, boost creativity, and open up the mind in ways that most of us didn't even think was possible. And the amount of misinformation on this drug, as I'm sure many of you already know, is just extraordinary. So yeah guys, enjoy 6 mind-blowing facts on LSD that you might not have known about. Number 1, LSD was commonly used to treat alcoholism. Bill Wilson, who was the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, or AA, was a firm believer of the potential of LSD to treat alcoholism and even credited the drug for his own recovery, which included episodes of debilitating depression. So good old Bill here started the sobriety movement in 1935 and had his first LSD trip in 1956. After this life-changing experience, Bill was a huge advocate of LSD for not only its potential for therapeutic healing, but for also having spiritual experiences. He publicly spoke about LSD helping cynical alcoholics to attain a spiritual awakening that helps them on the road to recovery. Many of the LSD studies in the 40s and 50s were actually focused on treating alcoholism, which showed great promise. People were having breakthroughs left, right, and center after just one LSD trip, and on top of this, they were having prolonged results. And people in the scientific community were like losing their shit about this mind-blowing substance. The level of enthusiasm in the psychiatric field was equal to that of the physics community when they first split the atom. And before this, there was nothing like this before, with LSD treating various mental illnesses and having such mind-blowing results, which was unprecedented in the psychiatric field. Then Nixon came along with his war on drugs and ruined it for the rest of us for decades to come and completely just stopped scientific research. But at least it's picking up again, so there is hope, guys. Number 2, LSD decreases activity in the default mode network. This was a pretty mind-blowing discovery because for the longest time, scientists always thought that all these visual and auditory hallucinations from psychedelics like LSD was due to an increase of brain activity, but after doing some fMRI scans on the brain, they found out that the opposite was true, and that certain regions of the brain, including the default mode network, actually had a decrease in activity. Quickly, for those who don't know what the default mode network is, it's what many scientists call the physical counterpart of the ego, or in simple terms, you can think of it as like this brain filter. It filters out certain bits of information from entering our perception. I like to think of it as like this consciousness gatekeeper. It blocks out certain layers of reality because of survival reasons, because if we could perceive everything there was to perceive of life, it would be so overwhelming that we just wouldn't have survived this long. We wouldn't be able to do simple things like hunt or even run away from prey or even tie our shoelaces. If we didn't have this brain filter, I could just imagine our ancestors just looking at a jaguar and just tripping out and seeing all these fractals and all that kind of stuff and just going, whoa, and then bang, you're dead. And mystics knew about psychedelics opening up your mind to perceiving other layers of reality for a long time, but it's cool that we're starting to have scientific validation. Because most people have this misconception that, oh, you're tripping on LSD, therefore it's like it's this foreign substance giving you this outside experience. But really what it's doing, it's opening up your mind to your own unconscious. So all these visuals and entities and all that kind of stuff is projections of your unconscious mind, which is pretty mind-blowing to think about, which is why it's so effective at psychotherapy and it's unprecedented, right? Because it has that potential to just go to the root cause of whatever your mental issue is, so it's pretty cool. LSD goes back further than you may think. In 1938, Albert Hofmann first synthesized LSD from ergotamine, a chemical derived from ergot, which is a fungus that typically grows on rye. It is believed that symptoms of ergotism have been recorded since the Middle Ages and even as far back as ancient Greece. Let's go back a couple thousand years back to ancient Greece just for a moment. Every year a festival was held in Eleusis called the Great Mystery. All the major Greeks and Romans, including great philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle, attended this event, and many drank this potion called kykeon and had some pretty insane mystical experiences. This was not some underground secret cult. This shit was mainstream. Hoffman, among other scholars, believed that the transcendent experience attained by these people induced by kykeon contained an alkaloid analogous to LSD. The description of these experiences in ancient Greece after consuming this potion sounded extraordinarily similar to these other ancient entheogenic experiences, such as ayahuasca in the Amazon, the blue water lily in ancient Egypt, psilocybin mushrooms in Mexico, and the soma in India. Now, of course, we cannot be sure that this kykeon, is that how you pronounce it, by the way? It's kykeon? Anyway, yeah, we can't be sure that this contained LSD per se, or it could have even contained some other psychedelic substance. But what we do know for sure that it definitely did include some sort of psychoactive substance. You know, it's funny, and it gets me thinking that a lot of these great philosophers like Aristotle could have totally been tripping balls of this psychedelic substance and coming up with all these profound insights. And, you know, it makes me imagine like Aristotle just tripping balls after drinking this potion and just journeying and going like, what is a friend? A single soul dwelling in two bodies. Yeah. Whoa, whew, that's pretty profound. I'm gonna write that shit down. LSD as well as psilocybin are the only effective treatment for cluster headaches. Cluster headaches are known to be one of the most painful and crippling conditions a human can endure. So painful, in fact, that it often drives patients to the brink of suicide and beyond. And the mind-boggling thing is, like, no one even knows how cluster headaches are formed in the first place. You can search this on YouTube on documentaries on things like psilocybin and LSD treating people with cluster headaches, and it's very, very effective. In many cases, these treatment methods end a cluster headache cycle and prevent a cluster headache cycle from returning. There are more than 400,000 people just in the United States alone that suffer from cluster headaches. And there is more than just anecdotal reports claiming that LSD and psilocybin have effectively treated their cluster headache, but there was also a 2006 Yale study published in the Neurology Journal that interviewed, I think it was like, what was it, 53 people about the effectiveness of psilocybin and LSD, and yeah, you know, results were just remarkable. And like I said before, this is the only known cure for cluster headaches. At least that's as effective as LSD and psilocybin. Number 5, LSD is non-toxic and non-addictive. I could imagine that most of you who are subscribed to my channel probably already know this, but this is still a fact that I think is definitely worth mentioning, because a lot of people just don't know this. Like, just think about all the misinformation about LSD and how addictive it is and how it burns holes in your brains and all this other nonsense. But if you actually look at the science of it, which many people just ignore, LSD is a non-toxic substance to the body. Just think about this for a second. It would take 12,000 micrograms to kill a man, which is about 120 doses. The reported overdoses from LSD is actually from a substance known as 25-I-NBOME. You know, people have died from taking as little as 2 or 3 tabs of this stuff. So it's so stupid how people blame the substance itself when it's actually the war on drugs, which is forcing people to go to the black market and buy untested drugs. That is the real problem. LSD is also physically non-addictive. Who would have known, right? Especially all the stuff that we get told. But if you look, again, if you're looking at the science of it, it's physically non-addictive. Now, I'm not saying that it is impossible to not get hooked on LSD, but, you know, it's possible to get psychologically addicted to anything. I know people who are addicted to TV, shopping, gambling, food, video games, and all these other things like it's crack cocaine or something. Now, the big difference with LSD is that your body builds an immediate tolerance. For example, if you were to trip 3 days in a row, by the 3rd day, you would hardly feel any effects, if any at all. Number 6, scientists used LSD for complex problem solving. It has been known since the 50s that LSD can be used to enhance creativity and problem solving. The most famous experiment on this subject was in 1966, where they got 27 participants from various professions, from engineers, physicists, mathematicians, psychologists, and so forth. Each participant was required to bring a professional problem they had been working on for at least 3 months and to have a desire to solve it. No surprise here, but the results were remarkable. It is also rumored that Francis Crick discovered DNA thanks to LSD. Now, I know that it's debatable whether or not Francis Crick discovered the double helix during an acid trip, but we do know for sure that he was definitely known to trip on acid and was very good friends with Aldous Huxley, you know, the guy who fucking got administered, I forgot the numbers, I think it was like 300 micrograms of acid on his deathbed. Like Steve Jobs is another one. And I quote, "Taking LSD was a profound experience, one of the most important things in my life. LSD shows you that there's another side to the coin and you can't remember it when it wears off, but you know it. It reinforced my sense of what was important, creating great things instead of making money, putting things back into the stream of history and of human consciousness as much as I could." So yeah, it's highly likely that without the discovery of LSD, you would not be watching this video right now on your iPhone or iMac, or able to enjoy the awesome music or art that's on it. Even if you were to look at Silicon Valley, which is like the tech entrepreneurial hub of the world, you know, which is the home of Google and Apple and all of these gigantic companies, whether you know it or not, many of these tech entrepreneurs are tripping right now and coming up with these business and tech ideas. Even listen to Tim Ferriss. He was very open about his use with psychedelics and how it's tremendously helped him in his own life among thousands and thousands and thousands of others. So yeah. Alright guys, so that's it for the video. I really hope you enjoyed these facts. Let us know in the comments below which one was your favorite, or drop down a comment which facts you think is fascinating that I haven't mentioned in this video. So eventually down the track, I am going to make a video that's purely dedicated to the science behind LSD. I just didn't want to do it in this video because it would have overlapped with too many facts on my last psilocybin video, and there are so many videos out there anyway, so I thought I'd choose things that aren't commonly spoken about. But yeah guys, that being said, if this video did give you some kind of value, don't forget to leave a big like and drop a comment. It really does help us out. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I do release content on a weekly basis. Thanks to all you legends supporting me on Patreon. Without you, this channel would not be possible. And yeah, if you are interested in what Patreon is, I'll leave a link in the description below. That's it guys, have an awesome day. Peace.